right, good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Very good.
I know we're getting started a little bit late. I thank you for your patience. And it is a pleasure and an honor to be here today, especially on such an important day for your country. I congratulate you on your Victory Day. It's great to be here. I also want to congratulate those students working with the NASA Space Apps Challenge. You guys are awesome. I look forward to hearing some of your questions, and like Mr. Gardner said, not the 50 questions that I saw that this young man has. But before we get started, let's see if this is going to work. And you can see that we had some technical difficulties, but like always, you have to have a plan B, and we did. There we go. So my first question for everybody, make sure you're still awake. I know it's getting late. Who likes pizza? All right, and it's getting a little bit late, so we're getting hungry. So let's start to see, how do we eat pizza in space? It's fun, okay? Don't get me wrong. But because you all are so smart, I want you to look at this video, look at the science that is happening there, look at how we work and live in space. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, and we'll hope that this will work. Let's see. Here. If somebody sees it for me, let me know. There it is. Here we go. Here we go. And if we can work the sound, let me hit pause. All right, let's see. If not, we'll be all right. So you can see how all the food is either sticking on tape or Velcro on the table, otherwise they would be floating like a pizza. That's our oven. All right, what'd you think about that? And so I paused it here because it truly is an international space station, and we have Americans on board while I was there. Of course, we have an Italian, which is why we were eating pizza. He made the fancy one. And then you see our Russian cosmonauts that like to eat a lot of meat, so they made the full meat pizza. And so we work together as a team, and we play together as a team. And so before we get into the questions, like you heard earlier, I have over 300 days in space. Once with the space shuttle, very short mission going to the International Space Station, and then 2 flights going with the Russians on a Soyuz spacecraft. And my last mission, about 5 years ago, it was 6 months long. And so I want to share that journey with you. So we're going to take 6 months on the space station, and we're going to condense it down to 6 minutes. So it's going to go fast, so be ready. I'll just pause there for a second. So when we went up, I had Mark Vandehei with me, another American astronaut, and in the middle was our commander, and he is a Russian cosmonaut, and he's the one that got us there. So we launched from Kazakhstan, and it takes us 8.5 minutes to get from Earth to space, so it's pretty quick. We go from 0 miles an hour to 17,500 miles an hour, and in 8 minutes you have that beautiful view. And then about 6 hours later, you see this beautiful structure that we have built, the International Space Station. You dock to the space station, and it is nice to get out of this very, very, very small Soyuz vehicle into the very large International Space Station. So you can see we're all happy when we finally get there. So why do we go to space? We go to space to explore. We go to space to do science, and that's our primary objective. Working in microgravity allows us to do experiments that we cannot do on Earth. We worked a lot with fire to see how it behaves in space, but all of that is to improve life on Earth. It is not just to do science. We learn things that we can apply to life here. So Mark was working on an experiment there. Here I am growing lettuce. It was one of the most stressful things I did. I didn't want to kill the lettuce. We were very successful. We had a mini harvest and we got to eat it. It was quite delicious. We also do educational activities, as you know. Here we had students from universities that were programming these spheres to do work up on the space station. Another one where students sent up experiments. We shot them out of the International Space Station and they collected data as they went back to Earth. So a lot of science, a lot of education. We're still learning a lot about the human body, how it adjusts to living in space, because we plan on going back to the moon, and we're going to go to Mars, and we have to understand how the human body reacts. So we take a lot of blood samples, urine samples, we store them in this very, very cold freezer, and then when we come home, we bring those back with us, and we give them back to the scientists to analyze. Space is a harsh environment, so we have to work out every day for a couple of hours. We do 1 hour with resistive exercise to keep our muscles strong. So it feels like you are lifting weights in space. But then we also have to work on the cardiovascular system, and you have to put impact pressure on your bones. So we have a treadmill. This is how you run in space. If you're not tied to the treadmill, you're going to float away. This treadmill is actually on the wall, even though it looks like it's on the floor. But now you can see that it's on the wall. We have a stationary bike, so we use one of those two to do cardiovascular activities. We're up in space, so how do we get food? We can't go to the store, so the food, our cargo, clothing, the experiments, they all come up on these commercial cargo vehicles. With the Dragon, we actually have to capture it with the robotic arm, and then you can see we attach it to the space station, and then we go in and we start to collect our supplies. It's always nice when they arrive because they bring fresh fruit, vegetables, which we don't have. Maybe you get some ice cream, but these big bags that are very, very heavy on Earth, you can just push them around like they're no problem at all. Spacewalking, one of the most dangerous things we do, but one of the most exciting things that we do. And the reason we do them is if we have to do repairs or improvements to the space station. So we leave, we go out the door. It's a little scary the first time you go out and you see the Earth 200 miles below you. And we're usually out for about 6 or 7 hours. And you can see how big the space station is. My crewmates here were working on the robotic arm. They were changing that end effector out. I had the opportunity to go out on a spacewalk, in this case, with my feet attached to the robotic arm, and then somebody was flying me around. So teamwork is very, very important. And then after about 6 or 7 hours, you're tired, you're hungry, and it's time to come back into the space station. Just have a minute or so to show you the beauty of our planet, the planet that we have to take care of. So I'll give you a minute to enjoy that. before you know it, 6 months are over, you hand over command of the space station to your crewmates that previously or recently arrived, and then you get back into the what is very, very small Soyuz vehicle. So if you don't like small spaces, you probably don't want to be an astronaut. Then you undock from the space station, you enter in through the atmosphere, which looks like you're on fire, and you kind of are. It's very, very hot as you come in. That's the way it's supposed to be. The parachute opens up, so now you know you're going to live. You're very happy. And then when you hit the ground, the Russians have their recovery forces, even in the middle of the winter, ready to greet us, to take us out of our, you can see how the capsule's all burned up, but they take us down, they put us in a chair like a little baby, they wrap us up, and they lift us, take us over to the medical tent to make sure we're okay. Then we hop on a helicopter for a couple of hours, then we get on the NASA plane, and then about 20 hours later, you are back home in Houston. So it's pretty impressive how you go from one day, you're floating in space, to the next day, now you're home sitting on your couch, there's nobody to take care of you, you gotta take out the trash, you gotta cook your food, you gotta do the dishes. So you go from being a superstar in space to just a plain old Joe back at home. So that was 6 months in 6 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. Just to give you a feel of what it's like to live and work in space. So, thank you. I've got lots of videos and things we can talk about, but I want to get to your questions because that's the most important reason that I'm here. So if we have a way to get students, or if somebody can either bring them up or give a microphone, we'll go for the questions until somebody tells me we are out of time. And if the questions lead to a video that I have, I'll show a couple of more videos.